welcome back to Aquatic Elements. In today's video I'm going to be doing an update on the Monster Fish Mega Tank. I'm also going to be going through my maintenance routine on this. It's been quite a while since I've done a video sort of on all of the fish that we've got in this tank and how the tank actually runs. I get comments nearly every day asking me, where's the filter, how does this tank run? So I thought I would do an update on it. We'll give the fish some food, I'll show you exactly how I do my water changes, how the filtration works, and just a general update on the tank. Now let's head around the front of the aquarium and we can take a look at the fish and see how the tank is looking. Now overall the tank is doing really well. I'm really happy with the progress that this tank has had and also how well the fish are doing. Now you will notice straight away we do have a big empty space at the front of the tank, and this is where the stingrays love to move all of that substrate back because they are just waiting for food all of the time. We've got blueberry, we've got sugar and lemon down in the bottom here, and over in the far corner we have chocolate chip. Now, you will also notice probably in a few of the clips, there is an airline at the back that does keep coming out of the sand, and that's because Chocolate Chip is constantly digging this area up in the back, looking for food, and he's constantly moving that airline out of the way. So I do need to get a slightly bigger boulder to hold it in place. The slightly larger boulder I've put on this side has done a great job, so I just need another one for that middle section. You'll notice the piece of wood is looking really good. We've still got some algae growing in the top section. That seems to grow, form some big clumps, they then come off, then the algae disappears and then new algae starts to grow through as well. So it's quite interesting watching that cycle happen every sort of 2 weeks. Now onto the fish just before we do our maintenance, and I talk you through the way this system runs. Our Hampala barbs are doing really well. They're super active, they provide loads of movement for the tank, and I really like them. They are super aggressive at feeding as well. Now I don't know if I'm going to keep the Hampala barbs forever. I do really like them, so they're going to stay for now, but they're definitely putting on a little bit of size. They are quite a slow growing fish, but they are definitely putting some size on. The arowana, the Malaysian gold arowana, is still doing very well, and he's reached about 10 inches in length. He has grown very quickly, and I expect in sort of 6 months time he's going to get to that 14-inch mark. Now we have our Stormy or Hemiarius Stormy Eye or Stormy Catfish down in the bottom, who's doing really well as well. And then our Datnoid, who is sort of sitting under the wood here. He's always a little bit tricky to see. He's interested in my finger, but you can't really see him too well. But I really like him, and he's definitely one of my favourite fish in the tank. So that's the general overview on how everything's doing. I'm really happy with the open scape, and that I did opt to change that sand out about, I think it was about 6 weeks ago, and the clarity is really good. We do still get quite a bit of tannins leaching out of this wood, but once we've done our water change, that will dilute, and then obviously the tannins will slowly come back through the next week before our next water change. So that's the update. As I said, let's start getting the water change started, and we can take a look at the filtration system and how this tank actually runs. Now water changes are super easy on this aquarium. Some people think that because this tank is on the floor that it's really difficult to do water changes, but believe me, that's not the case. I've got this piece of silicone hosing, this Aqua One hosing, and all I do is put one end into the aquarium. I sort of put it in so the fish won't get sucked onto it, but so that will go into this corner, and then I'll simply put the other end outside, give it a quick suck, and then the water will just drain out of this tank. Turn obviously all of the pumps off, and I drain it for around, I think it's probably around 40 minutes, and then I'll just fill it up from the tap and dechlorinate it as well. Just started the siphon. The water is now siphoning out of the tank, and you should be able to see in the garden, hopefully if I can show you, we've got the water draining down onto the patio area. So that water just drains out into the garden for, as I said, around 40 minutes. And I sort of drop the water level probably about 40%, 35–40%, and then we'll get to filling it back up. Obviously I've probably got to move a bit of the substrate around. I do use some 2 foot long big tweezers to distribute the sand evenly back again, and then the rays will end up messing it up for the next water change, but at least it looks nice for sort of 2 or 3 days. Now we've got this water starting to empty out of the tank onto the patio area. I thought I would talk a little bit about the filtration. Now I am doing this video 7 days after the last water change, so you will be able to see how dirty the glass is, and it is really relatively clean. I do give it a quick going over with my flipper magnet, but it only takes me 5 to 8 minutes to do. I think we found a nice balance in the tank now, and I'm really getting minimal algae build-up in between water changes. But I've said this many times before, the system that I've got filtering this tank is an inbuilt sump filter that I constructed myself. Essentially, it is made of 2 pieces of acrylic which are silicone together, and then that sits into the back corner of the aquarium, so we've formed a box. Now the water then travels over a weir. I've got 2 weirs that sit onto that acrylic. The water travels over it, hits filter fleece. I change that filter fleece every 7 days. I buy a big 35-meter roll of filter fleece. I think it costs about £70, and normally that lasts, I think that lasts around a year, so it's like, I don't know, £5 a month in filter fleece, maybe a bit less than that. Now that then goes through a couple of sponges which hold that filter fleece in place, and if it does block up, those sponges catch a little bit more of the debris before it then goes down into the biomedia. Now the biomedia I use, I've got 35 kilos of media. It's consisting of ceramic rings, ceramic balls, Biohome, Alpha Grog, and I think there's a couple of other random bits of biomedia. Basically any spare biomedia I have, I just chuck it all in. You can see the Arawan and the Hampala barbs have come over to see what's going on. But then that water travels all the way through that biomedia, and then it's pumped back out into the main tank by a 6,000 litre return pump. Now before the water comes out, it comes out of the top of the tank, goes down through a UV light, and then it goes back into the system. And I would say using that big pond UV light definitely attributes the supreme and really clear water quality is attributed to that UV. Now 25 watt UV, I think that's recommended for a pond that's like 5,000 litres, that's like 4 times the size of this tank. So it is really doing a great job at cleaning the water. So really all I do for filter maintenance is every single week take the filter fleece out of the top, and then I would say every 4 to 6 weeks I give those sponges a clean just in a bowl of tank water. As I'm draining it, I take a bucket or a large bowl, put the sponges in, rinse them out, and then they're good to go. And then every 4 to 6 months, most likely 6 months, I'll take all of the biomedia out, give it a rinse in tank water in some buckets, and then put it back in. But maintenance on a weekly basis is super easy. I've got my water change, clean the glass, and then change that filter fleece, and that's all I do apart from feeding the fish. So let's let this water keep draining, and I'll catch you when we start to fill it back up. So now it's been about 40 minutes and the water is completely empty from the tank. So I would say we're probably around a 40% water change today. I've also actually taken the lids off to give them a cleaner, clean them sort of every 2 months, every 8 weeks or so. And I'm actually going to show you a top-down view of the Monster Fish Mega Tank, which is rarely seen. That's one of the reasons I do like having the tank on the floor, because it is nice to observe these fish from the top down. So let's have a look at them from the top down, and then I can show you exactly how I fill it back up. And it only takes about 20 minutes to fill back up, and then we can get the system back up and running. And now we are ready to fill the aquarium back up. All I've got is my silicone pipe, which is attached onto my tap. And then I've got this little hard piece of PVC pipe that just slots into the tank there. All I need to do is turn the tap on. I do mix the water, so it does go in at around 24 to 25 degrees, so there's no shock to the fish. And then I also do dechlorinate it. My dechlorinator, I use the Seachem Safe. As I've probably said many times before, this whole tub treats 240,000 litres of water, so I actually need a minuscule amount of this. So you can see the water is now filling back up into the tank, and it is a similar temperature to the aquarium. This normally takes me about 20 minutes to fill it back up. So I'm going to add the dechlorinator, treat for the entire volume of the tank. I'm going to go and clean the glass lids, and then we can see how the fish are doing after their water change. Give them a couple of hours, and then we can feed them. Now the water change is complete, and as you can see, it is lovely and clear. We've got some evening sun coming through, streaming through the tank, and I absolutely love it when that sun just hits those fish and really shows their colours. The barbs are going a little bit crazy because I'm next to the tank and they think they're going to get fed, and they are correct. I do have some food behind me. Now in this mug I have got some king prawns, I've also got some small cold water prawns and some mussels as well. Now when I open the lid and pour the food in, I'm probably going to get splashed. Nearly every single time I feed these guys I always get splashed. But let's get the food in the tank, let's open it up, and we can see these guys feeding and just see how aggressive they are. Not too wet today, which is really nice, but that is all of the food going into the tank. I always try to make sure there's plenty of food that spreads out throughout the tank so all of the fish get a feed. We've got the Datnoid who's just come out, and the Hampala bobs absolutely hoover up the food. They are very greedy, and the stingrays are going a little bit mental. Let me bring the camera a little bit closer and you can have a sort of close-up shot of the fish. And that is it for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing the update on the Monster Fish Mega Tank, how the tank actually runs, the fish we have in it, a little bit about the aquarium as well. Now, one thing I didn't mention was about the light system, and I do get quite a few questions on that. Both of the lights are AI Hydra 52 HDs, and they are, I think they're over a decade old, these lights, and they're still running really well. But all of the fish are doing really well. They've all had a really nice feed now. They've had a nice water change. I've gone through the filter system, the aquascape, and the fish in the tank. Now, if you do have any further questions on this setup or on this system, then please leave them down in that comment section. But that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Remember to keep those water changes up, and happy fish keeping.